If you have a quarter like this, stop what you're doing and check it carefully. You could be holding a coin worth far more than 25 cents, and some rare examples have shocked collectors at auction. Look closely at the details, mint mark, condition, and possible errors. If you have this coin, you might be one of the luckiest people in the world. Don't spend it until you know exactly what you have. What if I told you that a simple 2002 Indiana quarter sitting in your pocket, coin jar, or old collection could be worth far more than its 25-cent face value? If you have this coin, you might be one of the luckiest people in the world, because certain 2002 Indiana quarters have brought surprisingly high prices in auctions. But before you start celebrating, there is something very important you need to know. Not every 2002 Indiana quarter is worth thousands of dollars. The real value depends on the mint mark, condition, errors, and especially the grade. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to look for on your 2002 Indiana quarter and why some examples have attracted serious attention from collectors and auction buyers. The Indiana State Quarter was released in 2002 as part of the famous 50 State Quarters program. The design features a race car speeding through the foreground, with the state outline behind it and several stars surrounding the design. The coin represents Indiana's connection with automobile racing, especially the Indianapolis 500, one of the most famous racing events in the United States. On the front, you will find the familiar portrait of George Washington, while the reverse carries the Indiana design. The standard coin is made from copper and nickel, weighs approximately 5.67 grams, and measures about 24.3 millimeters across. The Philadelphia version, marked with AP, had a mintage of 362.6 million coins, meaning ordinary examples are not rare at all. But here is where the story becomes interesting. Condition can completely change the value of a common coin. A heavily circulated 2002 Indiana quarter may still be worth only around its face value, while an exceptionally preserved example with a very high certified grade can attract much more attention. For example, NGC records show a 2002 Indiana quarter graded MS-69 selling for $3,760 at Heritage Auctions in 2017. And Great Collections records show that 2002 Indiana quarters have sold for prices ranging from just a few dollars to $4,050, depending on grade and example. So if you have a 2002 Indiana quarter, don't immediately spend it. Turn it over, check the date, and look carefully at the mint mark. AP means Philadelphia, while AD means Denver. The mint mark can make a major difference when collectors compare auction records and certified examples. Now look closely at the surfaces. Is the coin covered with scratches, stains, dents, or signs of heavy circulation? Or does it still have bright original luster, sharp details, and very few marks? Coins that look almost brand new can be much more interesting to collectors. A normal 2002 Indiana quarter in a high grade can still sell for modest amounts. But the auction history becomes much more exciting when we move into extraordinary grades or unusual errors. PCGS records an auction result of $690 for a 2002 Indiana quarter graded MS-69. The Denver version has produced an even more impressive documented result, with a 2002 Indiana quarter graded MS-69 selling for $3,760. And this is exactly why collectors inspect these coins so carefully. Sometimes the real treasure isn't the date alone. It can be an unusual minting error. One of the most dramatic possibilities is a wrong planchet error, where a quarter design is accidentally struck on a planchet intended for another denomination. A documented 2002 Indiana quarter struck on a dime planchet has appeared in major auction records, and one certified example brought $17,400 at Heritage Auctions in August 2023. Now imagine finding something like that in an old jar of coins. That is the kind of discovery that can make collectors extremely excited. But don't assume every unusual-looking coin is automatically valuable. Weight, diameter, metal composition, and professional authentication are extremely important when dealing with major errors. If your 2002 Indiana quarter looks dramatically smaller than a normal quarter, weighs differently, or appears to have been struck on the wrong metal, don't clean it or alter it. Put it somewhere safe and have it examined by a reputable professional grading or authentication service. Another interesting category is a missing clad layer. This can create a noticeably different appearance because part of the normal outer layer of the coin is absent. Certified examples of 2002 Indiana quarters with missing clad layers have also appeared in auction records, including examples that sold for hundreds of dollars. So when you're checking your coin, look at both sides carefully. Examine the edge, because the edge can sometimes provide important clues. Check the color of the coin and compare it with another ordinary 2002 quarter. Then look for obvious striking abnormalities such as an off-center design, missing material, unusual thickness, or a strange planchet. And remember, a genuine mint error is very different from damage caused after the coin left the mint. A coin damaged by a machine, flattened, scratched, chemically altered, or intentionally modified usually won't have the same collector value as a genuine mint error. This is why professional certification can be extremely important before believing a huge value claim. Now let's talk about the famous $80,000 figure. You may have heard claims online that a 2002 Indiana quarter could be worth $80,000. But based on the documented auction records we can verify, there is no reliable evidence that a normal 2002 Indiana quarter has sold for $80,000. The strongest documented examples we found are valuable, but they are nowhere near $80,000. In fact, the most dramatic confirmed result in the records we checked is the 2002 Indiana quarter struck on a dime planchet, which sold for $17,400. So if someone tells you that every 2002 Indiana quarter is worth $80,000, don't believe it without seeing a genuine auction record and certification. The truth is actually more interesting. The right error, the right grade, and the right buyer can turn an ordinary-looking quarter into a remarkable collectible. That means you should never judge your coin only by its face value. If you have a 2002 Indiana quarter, check the mint mark, inspect the condition, examine the edge, weigh it if necessary, and compare it with a normal quarter. If you discover something genuinely unusual, don't clean the coin. Cleaning can damage the original surface and potentially reduce its collector appeal. Keep it protected and consider getting professional advice. And now I want you to check your collection. Look through your coin jar, old change, drawers, and rolls of quarters. If you find a 2002 Indiana quarter, take a close look before spending it. Because while most examples are common, a high-grade coin or genuine mint error can be worth dramatically more than 25 cents. So, if you have this coin, you may just be one of the luckiest people in the world. But the real question is whether you have the ordinary version or the rare version collectors are willing to chase. Tell me in the comments, do you have a 2002 Indiana quarter? And does yours have a P or D mint mark? And if you discover an unusual error, share what you found. You never know when a forgotten quarter could turn into a fascinating numismatic discovery. If you have a 1984 D quarter in your pocket, your coin jar, or an old collection, don't spend it just yet, because you could be holding a coin that is worth much more than 25 cents. If you have this coin, you might be one of the luckiest people in the world, especially if your 1984 D quarter is in extraordinary condition or has an unusual mint error. Most 1984 D quarters are common, but a small number of high-grade examples have attracted serious attention from collectors and have sold for hundreds, and in one remarkable auction result, more than $1,500. So before you ignore that old quarter, let's take a close look at what makes the 1984 D Washington quarter interesting, how to identify it, and what your coin could potentially be worth. The 1984 D Washington quarter was produced at the Denver Mint, and more than 546 million examples were struck that year. It is a copper-nickel-clad quarter with a standard weight of approximately 5.67 grams and a diameter of about 24.3 millimeters. On the front of the coin is the famous portrait of George Washington, designed by John Flanagan, while the reverse shows the American eagle with its wings spread. The small letter D can be found on the obverse, near the bottom right area of the coin, indicating that it was produced at the Denver Mint. Now, because more than 500 million 1984 D quarters were produced, the date by itself does not make the coin rare. In circulated condition, most examples are worth close to face value. But this is where collectors start paying attention. Condition. A coin that spent years moving through cash registers, pockets, vending machines, and coin jars can develop scratches, contact marks, dull surfaces, and wear. Finding a 1984 D quarter that escaped circulation with exceptional original mint luster and very few marks is much harder. And that's exactly why high-grade examples can bring surprising prices at auction. PCGS auction records show a 1984 D Washington quarter graded MS66 Plus that sold for $165, while another MS67 example sold for $336 at Stack's Bowers in 2023. But there's an even bigger number. PCGS lists an auction record of $780 for a 1984 D Washington quarter graded MS67, sold by Heritage Auctions in June 2019. And Great Collections reports an even more remarkable historical sale, showing a 1984 D Washington quarter-graded PCGS MS67 selling for $1,518.75. This is exactly why you should never judge an old coin simply by its face value. A quarter that looks ordinary at first glance can become much more interesting when it reaches an exceptional grade. Imagine finding one of these coins in an old collection and discovering that it has virtually no signs of circulation. That could be an exciting numismatic discovery. Now let's talk about what you should look for. First, confirm the date. You want to see 1984 on the obverse. Next, find the D mint mark. If there is no D, you're looking at a different mint issue, so don't confuse a 1984 D with a 1984 P quarter. After that, examine the entire surface under good lighting. Look at Washington's cheek, jaw, hair, and the open fields around the portrait. These areas can reveal contact marks and scratches that may affect the grade. Then turn the coin over and examine the eagle and surrounding fields. A truly high-grade coin should have strong details, attractive original luster, and very few distracting marks. If your coin has been heavily circulated, don't expect a huge price simply because it is a 1984 D. But if it looks almost untouched, that's when it becomes much more interesting. You should also inspect the edge. A normal 1984 D quarter has the standard copper-colored layer visible along the edge because it is a copper nickel-clad coin. If your coin appears dramatically different, don't immediately assume you've discovered a fortune. Some unusual appearances are caused by damage, environmental exposure, chemicals, or other problems that happened after the coin left the mint. Genuine mint errors are different and can be much more desirable. Look for major abnormalities such as an off-center strike, unusual planchet characteristics, missing portions of the design, or other evidence that the coin was incorrectly struck at the mint. But be careful, because the internet is full of exaggerated coin value claims. A scratch is not automatically an error, discoloration is not automatically rare, and a damaged coin is not automatically worth thousands of dollars. If you think you have a genuine mint error, don't clean or polish it. Cleaning can permanently damage the coin's surface and may reduce its collector appeal. Instead, preserve the coin and consider having it examined by a reputable professional grading or authentication service. Now, let's return to the big question. Could your 1984 D quarter really be worth $80,000? You may see videos and posts online making claims like that, but documented auction evidence tells a much more realistic story. The 1984 D is not a normal $80,000 coin. The major verified auction results we found are in the hundreds or low thousands for exceptional certified examples, with Great Collections reporting a sale of $1,518.75 for an MS67 example. That doesn't make the coin boring. In fact, it makes the hunt even more interesting because you don't need to believe every exaggerated claim to appreciate what a truly exceptional quarter can do at auction. The real treasure is finding an example that is dramatically better than the millions of ordinary coins that were produced. So if you have a 1984 D quarter, check it carefully. Look at the date, find the D mint mark, examine the surfaces, inspect the edge, and compare its condition with other quarters from the same era. If it is heavily worn, it will generally be worth little more than face value. But if it is unusually sharp, lustrous, and nearly free of contact marks, it could be worth significantly more. Current reference values also show a substantial difference between ordinary circulated examples and coins in high certified grades, with MS67 examples reaching hundreds of dollars in price guides and auction records. And that's the exciting part of coin collecting. You don't always know what you have until you look closely. A coin that somebody else might throw into a cash register could be the exact coin another collector has been searching for. So if you have this 1984 D quarter, you might just be one of the luckiest people in the world. Check your old change, your coin jars, your drawers, and those forgotten collections sitting around your house. You could discover a beautiful high-grade example or even an unusual mint error hiding in plain sight. And remember, don't clean it, don't scratch it, and don't trust an $80,000 claim without a real auction record or professional authentication. If you have a 1984 D quarter, tell me in the comments what condition it is in and whether you notice anything unusual about it. You never know, your ordinary-looking 25-cent coin could turn out to be one of the most interesting pieces in your collection. If you have a 2001 Rhode Island quarter in your pocket, your coin jar, or an old collection, don't spend it just yet, because you could be holding a coin that is worth more than its 25-cent face value. If you have this coin, you might be one of the luckiest people in the world, especially if your 2001 Rhode Island quarter has an unusual mint error or an exceptionally high grade. Most 2001 Rhode Island quarters are common, but certain varieties, errors, and high-grade examples can attract serious attention from collectors and buyers at auction. So before you ignore that old quarter, take a close look, because there are several important details you need to check. The 2001 Rhode Island quarter was the 13th coin released in the 50-state quarters program, and it was officially released on May 21, 2001. The reverse design features a sailing ship traveling through Narragansett Bay, with the Pell Bridge visible in the background. The design represents Rhode Island's maritime history and its nickname, the Ocean State. The coin carries the inscriptions Rhode Island, 1790, 2001, E Pluribus Unum, and the Ocean State. The standard quarter weighs about 5.67 grams, measures approximately 24.3 millimeters across, and has a reeded edge. Now here's something very important. The 2001 Rhode Island quarter was produced in large numbers. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 423 million examples, while Denver produced about 447.1 million. That means the ordinary 2001P and 2001D Rhode Island quarters are not rare simply because of their date. But this is where coin collecting becomes exciting. Condition can make a huge difference. If your quarter has been heavily circulated, with scratches, worn details, and lots of contact marks, it will generally be worth close to face value. But if you find a coin with brilliant original luster, sharp details, and almost no marks, collectors may be much more interested. PCGS notes that while most 2001P Rhode Island quarters were well struck, examples in MS68 are scarce, and MS69 examples are especially difficult to find. Now look at the mint mark. On the obverse, near Washington's portrait, you should find either AP or AD on a normal circulation coin. The P means Philadelphia, while the D means Denver. The 2001P Rhode Island quarter had a mintage of 423 million, while the 2001D had a mintage of 447.1 million. And here is where the auction records become interesting. Great Collections reports that a 2001P Rhode Island quarter-graded PCGS MS68 sold for $185.62. The same archive shows 2001P examples selling from about $6 to $186, depending on grade and condition. The Denver version has produced an even higher documented result. Great Collections reports a 2001D Rhode Island quarter-graded PCGS MS68 selling for $431.20, with recorded sales ranging from around $6 to $431, depending on grade. So imagine finding a nearly perfect 2001D Rhode Island quarter hiding inside an old collection. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary 25-cent coin, but after professional grading, it could become a much more interesting collectible. And that's why you should never judge a coin only by its face value. Now let's talk about errors, because this is where things can get even more exciting. One documented 2001P Rhode Island quarter had a missing reverse clad layer and was graded MS63 by NGC. That example sold for $159 at Heritage Auctions in October 2022. A missing clad layer can cause a coin to look dramatically different from a normal quarter, but you need to be careful because discoloration or damage caused after the coin left the mint is not the same thing as a genuine mint error. That's why professional authentication can be extremely important. There are also documented examples involving clipped planchets and unusual striking characteristics. For example, a 2001 P Rhode Island quarter with a ragged edge clip graded MS64 NGC sold for $43, while another example described as having doubled curved clips overlapping sold for $53. These aren't necessarily life-changing amounts, but they demonstrate an important lesson. Genuine mint errors can make a common state quarter much more interesting to collectors. So how do you check your 2001 Rhode Island quarter at home? First, confirm the date is 2001. Then look for the Rhode Island reverse with the sailing ship and Pell Bridge. Next, check the mint mark. After that, inspect the entire surface under good lighting. Look closely at Washington's portrait, the lettering, the ship, the bridge, and the fields surrounding the design. You're looking for anything unusual that appears to have happened during the manufacturing process. Don't confuse scratches, dents, stains, or damage with genuine mint errors. Also inspect the edge. A normal clad quarter should show the expected copper-colored core along the edge. If your coin looks dramatically different, weigh it and compare it with another normal quarter. The standard weight is about 5.67 grams. And here's another important warning. Never clean a potentially valuable coin. Don't polish it, don't scrub it, and don't use chemicals to make it shine. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and potentially reduce its collector value. If you believe you've discovered a genuine error, keep the coin safe and consider having it evaluated by a reputable grading or authentication service. Now let's address the huge value claims you may see online. You might hear someone say that a 2001 Rhode Island quarter is automatically worth $80,000 or even more, but you should not believe those claims without a verifiable auction record. The documented sales we can confirm for ordinary high-grade 2001 Rhode Island quarters are generally far below $80,000. For example, the verified Great Collections records show $185.62 for a 2001 PMS68 and $431.20 for a 2001 DMS68. The more realistic story is actually much more fascinating. An ordinary circulated coin may be worth only around face value, while an exceptionally preserved coin or genuine mint error can command significantly more from collectors. So if you have this coin, you really should check it before spending it. If your 2001 Rhode Island quarter has a P or D mint mark, examine its condition carefully. If it looks almost untouched, has strong luster, and shows very few marks, it may be worth setting aside for further evaluation. And if you discover something unusual like a missing clad layer, clipped planchet, or another genuine minting abnormality, you could have a much more interesting coin on your hands. So if you have this 2001 Rhode Island quarter, you might just be one of the luckiest people in the world. Go through your old change, coin jars, drawers, and collections and see what you can find. The next quarter you pull out could be completely ordinary, or it could be an exceptional high-grade example or a genuine mint error that collectors would love to add to their collections. And remember, don't clean it, don't damage it, and don't trust an unbelievable value claim without real auction evidence. If you have a 2001 Rhode Island quarter, tell me in the comments. Does yours have a P, D, or S mint mark, and have you noticed anything unusual about it? You may have a fascinating piece of American coin history sitting right in your hands.